Hey, I'm Chris Matthieu from RealSense. I've got a great new friend and guest with me today, Eric Danziger. Hey, Eric, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. So Invisible AI, I absolutely love that company name. It makes you think like invisible, like what is this all about? And then on your website, and I saw in the RealSense case studies, the eyes of the factory. I'm like, oh, there's all that AI stuff coming to fruition. So tell me, who are you? What's Invisible AI all about?
Absolutely. Yeah, the name, it's something I think it's kind of really key to really all technology, right? Is that the stuff that we use all the time, the things that work for us, are invisible, right? And our goal is not to draw attention to ourselves as we're trying to understand what happens in a factory, but really to kind of bring visibility to our customers, right? There's a lot of we might call invisible problems in a factory, and unless you can see them, you can't fix them. And that's something that I think a lot of our customers really resonate with, and our goal is to kind of illuminate the entire facility and give you this constant understanding of everything that's happening throughout the entire space. And really, it's been an incredible journey. We have, entire factories covered in automotive, and these are massive facilities with our devices, and really it completely changes the way the people work. And I will say that, one of the things that we're most proud of is that all of the kind of supervisors and industrial engineers on the line, most of them tell us that they'll never go back, right? This is a completely different way of working, and it helps them kind of really do the job of keeping the factory running, of improving operations, of doing all of the kind of core jobs of this kind of indirect labor section so much more easily that they just can't imagine having to go back to pen and paper and interviews and, trying to do all this, figuring out what happened, 3 hours and 300 widgets ago. So it's been a really fun journey. And I think, with all that's happening in the world now with automation and AI, there's this huge sea change, and not just kind of digitizing workflows, but starting to automate them. And that's something we're working on with some of our customers now.
Wow. Yeah. Like you said, if you can't see it, you can't fix it. I was talking with some of your engineering team, very bright people too, by the way. Yeah. Like that's a serious asset you have. But one of them explained to me that it was basically a robot without arms and legs. I was like, ooh, I like that also kind of made me think like, ooh, that's interesting. But yeah, I kind of get that now.
Yeah, it's my background is in robotics. I went to graduate school at Carnegie Mellon, and we have a fair number of Carnegie Mellon alums and other roboticists on the team, and it is true. If you think about a lot of what is being shipped inside of the kind of next generation of robotics, the things that are starting to get a lot of buzz right now, it's functionally very similar, right? It's a very similar compute module, and it got a RealSense for visibility, and that is a huge that is a huge asset to be able to deploy this, not in a trial setting, not in a handful of kind of this super new, unproven robotics technology, but thousands of these throughout the factory. And instead of focusing on actuation, which is hard, and a lot of these companies have a bunch of work ahead of them, we get to focus on understanding, right? Which in my opinion has always been kind of the first step, right? This is the thing that we need before we can go on and do all of the work in the direct labor side.
It's that spatial awareness, spatial intelligence. Factories, as you said, they're becoming entirely automated. So lots of robots or cobots working with people. So I look at the robots and I see they're like inside looking out at the world. And then I see all of your invisible AI boxes, for lack of a better word, I don't know how you describe them, but all over these factories, they're like outside looking in. And I keep thinking, wow, this is interesting. The convergence between like the robots and invisible AI. And one of your engineers was explaining that you've got like vision language models, like you can ask it after the fact, like what happened? Why are we having defects on the line? Did you see anything interesting today? It's that intelligence that you mentioned earlier that really makes things like don't skip a beat. They make the improvement happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keeping the factory running and improving it every day, right? That's the job. So, yeah, I think it's, this is one of the stories I think that we'll see more and more as some of the newer wave of automation starts to get deployed. A lot of those things are for a specific area, for a specific job. They still need, a level of visibility. We're actually talking with some of our customers now about automating the kind of view and recovery of some of their automated cells, right? So even in automated cells, there's a bunch of problems that happen because you have a bunch of systems that are different, right? That are coming together to do this specific job, right? You have a conveyor moving a part, you have a robot doing some work, you have a machine that's going to do some additional work. And between all of these, it's actually quite frequent for there to be a gap, right? And everything says it's green, but the robot's not moving, right? The parts aren't flowing. What's going on, right? And this problem, again, these are with deterministic systems. If you imagine kind of an AI-driven system, the problem just compounds. So you still need something to help do this observation, to help do kind of the work of, again, optimization, keeping things running, right? And so that's really a place that we are playing today and expect to continue to play in the future. And it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, systems of systems. You're right. And with AI in the middle of all of it, there's nothing complex about that. I wanted to thank you for your service because I noticed that you were a U.S. Army soldier, and I've been wanting to ask: do you see any like correlation or anything interesting between like what you've learned in a mission critical environment, and maybe how does that apply to like the factories of the future, like what you're seeing your customers doing today?
Yeah, I think really there's a lot of amazing technology that is constantly being exposed to the military. They're always field testing new stuff, right? And throughout the various deployments in Afghanistan, I got to see a kind of an evolution, honestly, of a lot of new things that they built in response to what was happening on the ground. And some of those things were really incredible and made a huge difference. And some of those things were honestly more trouble than they're worth, right? And it's hard, I think, in a technology demonstration to really know the difference. And it's a theme that I think about a lot, right? Where there's, technology that you can't use when you need it the most, or that breaks frequently, or that isn't quite as reliable as you need it to be, is really just going to be more of a hindrance than it's worth, right? And I think that attitude I find a lot in manufacturing, because there's a lot of people that want to sell them whiz-bang technology. And I go into plants all the time and I see things that look really amazing and they're off, right? And why is this off? Well, it just kept giving us alerts. It wasn't working. We just shut it down. It's not worth it, right? And so, it's tough. Like, you cannot just be new and interesting. You also have to be super reliable. And I think when you look at, some of the military kit beyond the headlines and the whiz-bang stuff of what kind of infantrymen deploy with, and if you look at what's deployed on a factory floor, it may not look as new and shiny as the things that we have in our day-to-day life as civilians all the time, right? But that's intentional. That's not, it's not that they're slow or they're behind, right? It's that they need this level of reliability that you just do not get with some of these other things. So, I think that has been a really interesting perspective for me because I actually went to graduate school after the military. And so instead of coming in and thinking, that we can apply stuff that's barely working in a lab in the real world, right? You have to just imagine it from the perspective of the user, right? Like, what is it going to take for this to hit that right technology readiness level, that right level of maturity, that it's deployable, that it's scalable, right? That it works on a reliable basis. And that's really kind of a facet of what we do in manufacturing that I think can sometimes be hard to see from the outside, but it's the reason that we're working with, some of the biggest automakers in the world today.
Well, reliability, dependability. If you can't see it, you can't fix it. I'm looking at your website now, and you just mentioned, but kind of humbly, as you did, I'm looking at all the automotive logos on your site, like they are the Fords, Toyotas, Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, GM, Nissan. It's like, so I mean, you're doing something right that's getting a lot of attention in that space, and that's really impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long road to get here. And again, these are very serious customers with very, strict requirements, right? They have a high expectation for what you can deliver for them. So the fact that we can deliver and the fact that we can, not just be in one small part of the plant, but cover entire plants is a huge distinguishing factor for us. Really it's really hard. And I definitely don't, I think, celebrate it enough, even internally, probably in the company. But this is the requirement, right? This is what it takes to be able to scale across manufacturing, right?
First class.
And so it's, you have to be able to win the hardest customers and scale across their operations. Otherwise it's always just going to be a toy and a test.
Yeah. So why did you choose RealSense of all the like robot eyes cameras in the world? Thank you, by the way, but why RealSense cameras?
I mean, it goes back to that kind of idea of reliability, right? I think the reality is that in a lot of these robotics applications, there's a reason that kind of RealSense remains a standard. And it's that, when you want to be able to structure the world, right, we use the 3D components of our systems all the time, right? This is a huge benefit for us because the real world is incredibly messy, right? And so when you're trying to monitor an area of work, you don't know what occlusions are going to be there, right? You want to be able to, be 3 meters away, be 6 meters away, right? Whatever it may be. And have a bunch of our systems work together, right? That's another component of what we do, where you can just add another device when you have an occlusion, everything kind of fills in the holes, it all works together.
Like
and
fusion,
you get this
system sensor fusion. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's, kind of a basic, requirement for us, right? That we've built this thing based off of, and really, again, something we don't necessarily talk about as much, but it's really difficult, and there's a ton of problems to solve there and meet the level of reliability that our customers need. The thing that we do not want to play around with is the quality of the images and the depth that we get out of the device. And so we found RealSense to be, really the gold standard still for what we can do there. It's something that we're very happy with, and the results we've been getting have been fantastic. So thank you, I'd say.
Well, thank you, doctor. Well, yeah, I know, we've got an open source SDK, lots of languages. Hopefully it was fairly easy to integrate with RealSense and Invisible AI.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, we've been working with the system now for several years, and honestly, I don't even remember integrating it. Like, that's,
you were running dog years too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So no, it's, it's been fantastic. And again, the other component I think that's important for RealSense, right, is the ability to buy the modules, right? So
that's right.
Having the ability to integrate that with our product natively and not have to buy a device, take it apart, and then fit it in, is another huge benefit, because we do manufacture our devices ourselves. So that's just makes it that much easier for us to fit it in with the form factor and the requirements, right? We have customers that are coming to us now with different IP level requirements, and all of that's going to happen kind of outside of the module, and something that we can fix on our side and not have to change anything else about our manufacturing process, which is huge.
That's a good point. And I don't mention that enough, is that every RealSense camera comes with all the module suite for companies like you to basically OEM it, specialize it. And you've got a very elegant looking vision perception box. And we're going to put a video here at the end of this podcast shortly that'll give you a view into not only your hardware, your technology, but all the things it's kind of capable of doing. So brilliant, brilliant. I can't wait to see what you do next, because you're running like a cheetah, like a fast cheetah. And it's everything's changing so fast too, as you mentioned, with AI and perception technologies, and you're at the forefront. When I think of outwards in, looking at factory, I see invisible AI everywhere. We've got a new case study out on the RealSense site about you guys, and wow, what an incredible journey. I know it didn't happen overnight, but you've got great momentum, and excited to see what you do next. And thanks again for your service.
Well, thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Cool, Eric. Thank you, buddy.